All right. Welcome back. It's The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. And, of course, it's time for the Watchdogs. Wow. We've got some good stories this week. I mean, you can't make it up. I know. John, tell me about this. Here's the headline from your website. By the way, it's Illinois Leaks, IllinoisLeaks.com. You guys should basically, you should subscribe to their emails. You should support the Watchdogs, and you should pay attention to everything that they write. So IllinoisLeaks.com. Here's the headline: 759 hours gambling. Video call logs show what this particular government employee was really doing with her time while she claimed to be working. And this is according to, finally, the Attorney General. John, come on. She spent 38 hours a month gambling when she was supposed to be doing duties as the Iroquois County Public Health Department administrator?
Yeah, she's the administrator for Iroquois County Public Health Department. And we looked at that department years ago when it was combined with Ford County and uncovered millions of dollars of grant fraud that nobody was ever prosecuted for. But they dissolved that one, and then Ford County and Iroquois County stood up their own health departments separate from each other. And then this is one of the administrators of the Iroquois County Health Department. So I can go through some of the things that they're alleging. I mean, she's been charged. They had to extradite her from Indiana.
She fled to Indiana? Wow.
She might have just been over there visiting or moved over there. I don't know if she fled or not, but she voluntarily signed extradition back to Illinois. So I can run through some of these.
I think this is a really good story, and here's kind of why. Because politically speaking, Iroquois County is one of the most Republican counties in the entire state of Illinois. So, folks, I mean, I don't know what her political leanings were, but politically speaking, it's happening everywhere. This type of malfeasance.
Yeah, and a lot of this was through the COVID money, and a lot of it could have been stopped had the board members paid attention like they should have from the beginning.
And we were just talking about that. We were just talking the segment before you. We were just talking about the importance of who you elect at the local level. They should have known about this.
It's ridiculous. At a minimum, they should. Here's some of their policies. She had to work 40 hours a week, no more than 28 hours overtime per pay period. So at a minimum, they could have looked to see that she wasn't getting paid for more than 40 hours a week, and she wasn't getting paid more than 20 hours of overtime per pay period. I'm assuming that's twice a month. So, but they didn't do that.
So she's charged. She was charged last March with 33 felonies, including 8 counts of theft of government property by deception, 8 counts of forgery, and 17 counts of official misconduct.
Yeah, and here's some. March to July of 2022, she raked in 1,830 hours of overtime. 1,500 hours was through contact tracing, in quotes, for COVID. And that never happened.
Right.
Well, you can assume it never happened. But in the same time frame, she was gambling at Winnie's Gaming Cafe and Scotsman's East in Watseka, I believe. October through December of 2020, 38 and a half hours gambling at Winnie's, 52 holiday hours, 263 hours of overtime, plus her 40 hours a week paycheck. 2021, 298 hours gambling just in 2021, and she claimed 796 hours of overtime. The first 6 months of 2022, 150.
There's multiple failures here. Somebody actually paid that out. Nobody's checking the books. She's not writing her own checks.
I know. First 6 months of 2022, 150 hours gambling, 275 hours overtime. I mean, and most of the charges deal with fraudulent timesheets,
Mm-hmm.
and then connected to those are theft by deception using timesheets, and then claiming hours from previous pay periods on new pay periods, unauthorized control of government property, obviously the money, and then 17 official misconducts and whistleblower retaliation. Somebody reported her activities to the authorities, and then she fired them.
Okay,
Allegedly.
so that's what I want to know. I want to know, like, who finally said, I've seen enough, I'm going to the authorities, a whistleblower.
One of them did in early 2022, and then she allegedly fired him because that staffer tipped off the authorities.
So it wasn't, so it took a staffer to blow the whistle on somebody that they knew was scamming the government. It wasn't the elected officials that should have known. It wasn't her higher ups that maybe should have known. It wasn't anything. And who did they blow?
Right.
Who did that guy blow the whistle to? You or the AG?
I think somebody. I think one of the county board members or something. And that's probably what got the investigation started. We had to sue Ford County or Iroquois County for copies of the subpoenas and other records. So they didn't want to give them to us.
But meanwhile, you have to know that probably other people knew what her position was, knew what she was supposed to be doing. I'm just talking about other members in the community, and they also had to know at the same time that she was at the casino gambling.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's a small town. Watsika is a small town. Iroquois County is a small county.
Yeah, it said people were reporting seeing her during business hours at these places, and then the AG went and got all the video surveillance and counted the hours that she was sitting at the gambling machines
During business hours.
Yeah, but and here's the other thing. I don't know whether they're gonna find her guilty or not, but they never required her to be at work. There's no set hours that she had to work during any given day. She just had to do 40 hours a week.
Yeah, that's a problem too, which is something at the federal level that's going to get reined in real quick here, because there's no doubt that you probably have had federal employees at the casinos as well, just screwing off because it was remote work from home, do what you want, when you want. I mean,
yeah.
I like flexibility. Trust me, I like having the flexibility I have, but I'm not taking a taxpayer dime for it, right? And all that. Not to mention, it's there's got to be accountability.
If you remember Algonquin Township,
Mm-hmm.
that road commissioner took vacations to Florida and cruises with his wife as an employee, and they still filled out the time cards and got paid.
Yeah, it's just wrong. Absolutely wrong.
And they used their township road district credit card to pay for their vacations. And nobody got charged. It's pretty funny. And
pretty sad is actually it.
If they would have charged the people that were in charge of that multi-county health department when we outed them on those multi-million dollars worth of grant fraud years ago, maybe she wouldn't have been so brave in doing what she did. She might have saw it, and I mean, I believe she worked there at the time as a lower level employee. I mean, she could have saw what happened and realized, hey, I can't do this crap and get by with it. But
yeah, so this is not the first time that this particular county health department has, skirted the rules and taken taxpayer money.
Back then, they had a FOIA officer that lived, 4.5 hours away, just outside of St. Louis.
All right.
So we would FOIA something. They would have to send all the documents to her, and then she would respond to us.
Okay.
Meanwhile, her husband was getting or somebody's husband was getting all the work under the flood grants.
Yeah, so it's not always just the big boys like ComEd admitting to a bribery scheme with Mike Madigan. It's not always that. It's the little guys too, scamming the taxpayer. Oh my gosh, you guys are the best. Okay, we're going to take a break here. We'll be right back because Kirk wants to talk about how the U.S. Dominion Incorporated lawsuit is still dragging on. This is The Real Story. Thanks for joining me. Stay tuned. Oh, yes. And we still have the Watchdogs on with us. And I thought this was interesting because Kirk Allen, one of the founders of the Illinois Leaks and Edgar County Watchdogs, he sent me this. And I thought, oh, my gosh, I kind of forgot about it. But the title of his article is U.S. Dominion Incorporated Lawsuit Drags On. And, we're four years post the 2020 election where the Dominion lawsuit started to come up. And still, they're still suing folks. It looks like Sidney Powell, Michael Lindell, Rudy Giuliani, and others. And so give me your perception of what's going on here, Kirk. Where do you see it's? Why is it dragging on, and where do you think it's going to go?
Well, thanks for having me, Jeannie. It's really tough when you read these transcripts. It's tough not to see the bias, that ruling after ruling, decision after decision. It seems that, Dominion is given a whole lot of leniency and leeway, and it is in the D.C. courts. The part that was shocking, here we are over 4 years. They acknowledge in this transcript that is uploaded and available on pacer.gov. The world can see it. We published it in our article. They don't even anticipate the trial being in 2025. So we're going to be 5+ years before they even go to trial. And one of the key things that OAN, One American News, was looking for their expert witness was to literally access the system, a working system, for their case. Mm-hmm. And Dominion claimed the request to operate a functioning system is overburdensome, and it would take 10 to 12 hours to set it up. Now think about that, 10 to 12 hours. We've been at this for 4 years, and they're complaining over 10 to 12 hours, and the court denied the request. They're not going to set up the system so OAN can't apply, part of their expert witness to any of this testing. And it's just shocking how these judges make these decisions. And I know there's always a whole lot more into this, but when you read the transcript, is it asking too much for, hey, let's replicate what happened?
No, not at all. And it's actually kind of shocking how quickly Fox News settled with Dominion, and rather than go through the full-blown trial in that defamation case about what they're doing. And of course, everybody shies away, doesn't want to say too much. It's just that, and you brought it up too. I believe it was a Dominion machine in Michigan at in one of the counties that literally said, yes, it was set up incorrectly and it counted the ballots correctly, but we cleared it up and we cleared up the confusion within a day of the election, and we made it all better. We got the right result. So if it did happen then, I don't understand why they're not going through it. They're not going quickly to letting them set up a test system.
Yeah, that was in Antrim County, Michigan, and it was really shocking. It jumped out at me in the transcript. Mm-hmm. The Dominion acknowledged that there were errors caused in that county. And those errors, according to the attorneys, and no argument from Dominion, there was actual vote flipping that took place from one candidate to another. Well, that being admitted to, you would think common sense would say, hey, the defendants have a right to set up a working system to prove the theory of their case. Did it happen elsewhere? And they're not letting them do it.
Well, like in many of these cases, the judge dismissed the charges by an Antrim County Circuit Court judge. He dismissed the charges in this case. Who a former state lawmaker was a plaintiff on the Dominion case. So it only went so far. Like once they said, yeah, okay, it was set up incorrectly, we flipped votes, but now it's all okay. And then people wanted to take it further and scrutinize it more, then the judge is just like, no, we're not. It was like every other case in 2020. The judges dismissed the cases for either standing or whatnot before you could even get further into the details of the evidence that plaintiffs had.
They never got into the actual discovery, to argue the case. Like you said, standing, most of those cases got kicked out for standing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Well, I mean, I appreciate the fact that at least this case isn't completely dismissed yet, but it does seem like, justice delayed is justice denied at this point.
Right. Now, one of the other things that jumped out at me, the more I dove into this and looking into some of the reporting locally, how often do you see a report pop up on your news feed or social media and people read the headlines and they move on? They don't read the actual meat and potatoes to what is being said. And the headline of one of the articles was, "Expert Report Affirms Accuracy of Antrim County Presidential Election Results." Well, you read the headline and, man, the results are accurate. But when you click on the actual report and you start reading from it, the lead investigator in that report acknowledged that there were problems. In fact, he said his investigation showed that Antrim County incident was initiated by unusual circumstances that are unlikely to have widely affected other jurisdictions. Well, that's a heck of an assumption. And then he closes it out with, after making last-minute revisions to certain ballot designs, workers made 2 key human errors that directly led to inaccurate results. So the report says inaccurate results, but the title says affirms accuracy of Antrim County presidential election. I mean, the reporting is just, it's unbelievable how these people get away with this.
No, it's just wrong. Yeah. No, I mean, you have to read past the headlines.
Have to read.
I know. Yeah, people have to read. Well, you know what, though? The way it looks right now, though, our most of the kids have reading scores have declined. They're still not back up to where pre-COVID was. I mean, this country is like, whoa, we have a lot of work to do ahead. So, anyway.
Yes,
all right. Well, we have about a minute left before I have to let you guys go. But, I mean, how about that Tiffany Henyard brawl at the township this week? It's just so embarrassing.
Where's the charges?
And there's no charges, but the guy that she blames for it, the one that called her the B word, which is protected.
Well, he called her a lot more than that. I listened to that, and he was terrible. That was not good either.
All of it was protected speech. You got to protect the speech you hate. I don't agree with a lot of speech. It was
nasty and disgusting.
I understand that. But she claims that he started it all when video shows he didn't start the physical fighting, and he got emergency restraining orders against her and one of her friends that was in the fight with her.
God, it's just so embarrassing. I don't know what another word to say about it. So embarrassing. And then, of course, Lori Lightfoot came out with her report and just basically blasted Henyard's fiscal malfeasance. So all around a bad week. But, hey, thanks a lot. I'm so glad you guys could join me tonight. That's the Edgar County Watchdogs. We'll be right back.